Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. For today's video, we got the biggest need every NBA team must address at the trade deadline. So we're going to go through all 30 teams right here, guys, and I'm going to try to say, like, you know, what type of player maybe each team could get to address that need, or what exactly they could do if they should trade somebody, or maybe the need is not even really that big of a deal here, man. We got, it's an article here by Zach Buckley of Bleacher Report. So yeah, like in some cases, the damn Bucks, like, what more could they actually need? I mean, for me, that team doesn't even make a trade or nothing like that, unless it's bringing, like, I mean, Chris Paul would be kind of cool. I heard talks of Eric Bledsoe being traded, so I don't know if I would do that, man. I'm a big believer, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But here we go. If you guys can please drop a like on this video, it would be greatly appreciated. And of course, subscribe to the channel, bro. If you ain't subscribed, man, what are you doing? You're not subscribing, that's what you're doing, but you could do it now. Yeah, let's go ahead and get going on this. All right, so for the Atlanta Hawks, we have a modern center. So what exactly is modern center? Not Andre Drummond. It seems like those talks have been shut down. I know they're interested in Steven Adams. I wouldn't really call him a modern center either. To me, a modern center is somebody that can stretch the floor a little bit, you know, play multiple positions, go out there, or should I say defend multiple positions. And to me, the perfect fit at the center position has been the most perfect fit for a long time now, and that is Miles Turner. I definitely want Miles Turner on this team. It just seems like the perfect fit, and I really think that he'd be able to flourish as the starting center for this team. I think him and John Collins complement each other nicely. I think he opens the floor a lot more for Trae Young, not to mention John Collins can shoot also. It's literally the perfect choice. I mean, Dwayne Dedmon was the center last year and played great. Miles Turner is Dwayne Dedmon on steroids. It's that good. Okay, next up, we got the Boston Celtics with an interior anchor. So I'm not one of those people that think like Daniel Tice is a bad player. I think Daniel Tice is great. Now, if they were able to trade and get that interior defender type of player, I think Daniel Tice off the bench could be even better, because then he's going up against second units. You get more depth because of it. You play him alongside Enes Kanter, that could be great. You know, have him at the 4, Enes Kanter at the 5. I'm thinking, though, as far as somebody that the Celtics need to get, I love the idea of, like, Tristan Thompson. I just think Tristan Thompson is like a great short-term solution. I don't think he would cost that much to get him. The Cavaliers are going to be in sell mode, as opposed to going for, like, once again, Andre Drummond. Like, they just don't really need to spend that type of money to get a guy like that. Get a guy that's on an expiring deal like Thompson, and kind of go from there. Or a Derek Favors, just somebody like that. Well, maybe not Ed Davis. I don't think Ed Davis really has great defense. He's a good rebounder, but he don't really got the defense like that. But no, I think there's really a lot of cheap options out there. Of course, if you want to go like free agent route, you can look at Kenneth Faried, just somebody like that, man. Although his defense, like, Kenneth Faried's fine, but he's not like a shot blocker, so I don't know. All right, next up we got the Brooklyn Nets noise-canceling headphones. So you look at that statement, you're like, well, does that mean they shouldn't do anything? I don't know if that's the case. I think the Brooklyn Nets need to make the playoffs. If they don't make the playoffs, it's going to be a big storyline going into the offseason, despite, of course, Kevin Durant not playing. One guy I would actually really like to see them get that I think would fix a lot of their issues right now is Danilo Gallinari. I think a big issue with the Nets right now is Taurean Prince is starting at the 4 spot. That's definitely, he's more of a 3 in today's NBA, I would say. But Gallinari instantly gives them a guy that can drop 18 points per game. It gives you a very low ego guy. I mean, you know, Danilo Gallinari is not trying to make like headlines and stuff like that, but it gives them just a nice, really good scoring option. Somebody that hopefully would sign for a little less money after this season, and would be a great third, I don't really want to say star, but a great third player behind Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. I think Danilo Gallinari solves so many issues for this team. Next up, we got the Charlotte Hornets with the best available assets. So it's no doubt the future of the Charlotte Hornets is Devontae Graham and PJ Washington. I love those two guys. They are, I don't know, it's just something about them. It's like that's the focus, which is funny because it goes to show that sometimes the less known guys, more so Devontae Graham, can end up being the long-term solution to your problems. This team went off and drafted Malik Monk. What's his name, bro? Why can't I think of it? Miles Bridges? Yeah, Miles Bridges. And while I do think both those guys have a place in the NBA, it just, they're not really the future for this team. So it might be a good idea to kind of sell those guys right now and try to get some more guys to build around what's working for this team. So yeah, offer those guys up and see what team, what teams bite at it. Because I think there will be a lot of teams that will do so. Because the longer you hang on to some of those other players, the less their value becomes. Just because people kind of understand, okay, well, Malik Monk ain't ever going to be a superstar. I mean, I don't think anybody really believes that now anyway, but still. All right, next up we got the Chicago Bulls, whatever Thad and Denzel are worth. Yeah, Thaddeus Young was brought onto this team just to be like a nice veteran player that gave them a versatile big. It just hasn't really worked out. I mean, it's three-point shot. He's never been like a great three-point shooter, but he can't really stretch the floor at all for this team. I don't even think Denzel Valentine's in the rotation whatsoever. It's one of those cases where these are two good role players in the right system. It just so happens to be the Chicago Bulls is not the right system for them. So you would definitely have contenders going for both players. I would say more so Thaddeus Young. And yeah, you're not going to get like amazing value back, but if you can get like a second round draft pick for either one of these guys, that's something at least to get out of the contract. So sure, why not? Next up, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers picks, prospects, and reclamation projects. Okay, yeah, definitely got to just go out there and really hoard the assets as far as like picks go. Prospects, I mean, I would really look at players that were lottery picks that haven't really panned out on other teams and just let them come on this team and ball out. I mean, prime example right there is Dante Exum. I think Dante Exum is really going to turn around his career on the Cavaliers. I mean, it's not going to lead the wins, but hey, it's going to be something, because even if these players are given the opportunity, like look at Alec Burks. Alec Burks on the Golden State Warriors. Like, yeah, he's not going to win you any championships, but last year, he wasn't really, like, doing all that much. Went on the Golden State Warriors, had an opportunity to ball out, and that's somebody you can flip for something else down the line. So, if anything, it's at least, you know, you kind of become like the G League, the farming team for the NBA, but eventually, you know, some of those guys are going to stick, and some of these guys are going to be able to get traded for other assets. Next up, we got Dallas Mavericks, Dwight Powell's replacement. So, actually, in this case, the first player that did come to my mind actually was Andre Drummond, just because in the short term, I don't think it would be that expensive for them to get it. Now, it might be a first-round draft pick. I know teams said they weren't really willing to trade a first-round draft pick for Andre Drummond, which is understandable because the season's halfway to go. But, you know, that was teams like the Atlanta Hawks that weren't going to make the playoffs, so there was no sense in getting Andre Drummond. Drummond as a third option on this Dallas Mavericks team could help them instantly right now. And if anything, it's like, okay, you lose a first-round pick. I mean, they're going to be great for so many years that first-round pick is going to be, like, picked in the 20s anyway. And it's like they get Drummond for the rest of this season, and if he pans out, sure, sign him to the contract. If not, you let him walk, and it's like, yeah, you're out of a first-round draft pick, but you still have a lot of money freed up in free agency anyway. So I just feel like Drummond, you know, off that pick and roll, Luka would be great. Him and Kristaps Porzingis gives you one big-ass front court that, of course, Kristaps can stretch the floor a bit. So I'd like to see that happen. Next up, we got the Denver Nuggets with a wing stopper. I mean, honestly speaking, like, yeah, wing stopper's great and everything. Because Torrey Craig's fine, I guess. But I more so just want to see them maybe go for, like, a different starting shooting guard. That doesn't mean, like, they should trade Gary Harris. I do think Gary Harris has some good value on this team. But I feel like this team has a little bit too much going on. They have pretty much, like, high-valued guys, like Malik Beasley, for example, that maybe would shine more on a different team. I think teams would be willing to bite at that. So I would actually like to see them go all in and maybe go for like a third type of star. I mean, a guy like I don't think Bradley Beal can be traded this season, but, you know, somebody like that, that would just help this team, you know, just really scare the rest of the NBA and show, hey, we're going to win this championship this season, man. I look at the Nuggets right now. I see regular season team. I don't see champions. And I'm a big Denver Nuggets fan, by the way, guys. It's one of my favorite teams in the NBA. I love Jokic. So that's not me being a hater. It's just kind of what I see. Next, we got the Detroit Pistons with youth. Yes, as much as I love what Derrick Rose has done for us this year, it probably would be best for the future to trade him. I like the idea of Kyle Kuzma. Bring Kuzma on this team. He's only 24. Bring him back home to Michigan and see what happens. I mean, sure, there's a good chance that maybe he just doesn't become that 20-point per game scorer he was on the Lakers originally. But at the same time, maybe he does. And it costed you really Derrick Rose, who was helping us win games, which is not really good for this team right now because they're not, well, they actually won game out of playoffs, so there's actually a chance they can make the playoffs, but it's going to be the 8th seed, and they're going to sweep by the Bucks again. So what's the point, man? So I would much rather have this team kind of like tank the rest of the season, get themselves a good draft pick, you know, sell off some of the assets like Derrick Rose, a guy that nobody else really believed in to sign a nice contract to. Pistons got him on a really good deal, gave him a chance. Now he's playing like a damn all-star again. So cash in on that right now while you can. Next up, we got the Golden State Warriors with draft picks. This one I actually disagree with. I don't think this team needs any more young players. We all know what's coming back next season. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green's going to be motivated. I would actually like to see this team maybe flip some of these young assets and get guys like Robert Covington, like I don't know, just a ton of different veterans out there that would be around for the long term, get them acquainted with the system right now, so by the time next season comes around, everybody's ready to go on the same page. Next up, we got the Houston Rockets with front court depth. See, that's not really the issue with the team. They have the front court depth. What this team needs at the trade deadline is a new head coach. I don't really believe in D'Antoni anymore. I don't believe in his system. Clint Capella's nice, right? Daniel House, a little inconsistent this season. PJ Tucker, I think, shows his age a little bit. So I guess in that terms, I'm sure maybe you use a little front court depth. But like right now, they're playing Tyson Chandler. Tyson Chandler's like 90. They have this kid on this team, I believe his name's Isaiah Hartenstein, that needs to be playing. He needs to be playing. So it's like you have good players on this team. It's just the coach doesn't know how to use them. Next up with the Pacers, you got the roster balance. I mean, the Pacers are in a pretty damn good place right now, considering they're getting Victor Oladipo, their all-star shooting guard, back pretty soon. But yeah, you do kind of look at like the makeup of this roster. It's kind of unique, man. It's like it's a team that's just all these really good players that can just play multiple positions. You got Sabonis can play in the 4, Miles Turner at the 5. TJ Warren plays the 3, but he could really be a 4. Malcolm Brogdon plays the 1. Some might see him as a 2. Then, of course, you got Victor Oladipo that's thrown to the mix after that. So, it seems to be working. I mean, we'll see how chemistry is once Oladipo's back, but I think the team's fine, honestly. I don't really see them actually needing all that much. Next up, we got the Los Angeles Clippers with a two-way forward. I'm going to make this long story short. Get Iguodala. Iguodala is such the perfect fit for this team, man. Low usage when he needs to be. High usage when he needs to be. Nothing in between. Two-way player. One of the best to ever do it. Finals MVP. Champion. Yeah. Next up, we got the Los Angeles Lakers with a shot creator. So I'm going to assume this is more so at like the point guard position. Yeah, Derrick Rose fixes that. Derrick Rose fixes so much for this team. I mean, the only way I could see D Rose not working with the Lakers is that maybe if they don't quite give him the minutes he wants to play, because he does want to be he's feeling good right now, man. He wants to play more minutes. That's why the Pistons are starting him. I don't think the Lakers would be better off starting him on their team, but I do think he deserves about 30 minutes a game. And coming in as the 6th man, go out there, start Rondo. Rondo's making threes now, so, it's not like he's like a hindrance to playing off of LeBron or Anthony Davis. Go with that lineup with Rondo, or even I actually kind of like the lineup more of Avery Bradley and KCP, if I'm being quite honest. And Rondo can just kind of follow the rotation for all I care at this point. And then you use D Rose as somebody that once LeBron or AD comes out, you instantly have this all-star score. I mean, that's and then of course he's going to close out games, right? So yeah, Derrick Rose really solves all the issues with that. Next up, we got the Memphis Grizzlies with future assistants. I mean, I guess. They've done, I guess if you want to go for like assets, like younger players that maybe eventually can turn into role players, guys that you can toss in the G League right now or even use as your second unit, that would be interesting. At the same time, too, I wouldn't mind this team actually bringing in some veterans just to kind of, locker room guys that are really going to help this team get to that next level. I mean, John Morant has done so much, but of course, being a rookie, Jaren Jackson being a younger guy, it's like this team is going to make mistakes. When you have those veteran players that come in, they can talk to these players and kind of make sure it doesn't happen again. But damn, the Memphis Grizzlies are in a really good place right now. I absolutely love what that team's doing. I love Dylan Brooks. I liked him his rookie season, actually, a lot, too. Next up, we got the Miami Heat with a second scorer. I guess so. Making this video, the Miami Heat are currently second place in the Eastern Conference. The team is kind of like, it's funny because people say they need like a second scorer, but their second scorer kind of comes in the form of everybody on the team. Like, there's not that consistent, which is actually a good thing if you think about it, man, because, typically you can be like, okay, this team, team A right here, Milwaukee Bucks, their second scorer is Chris Middleton, so we're going to focus on him. With the Miami Heat, it's like one game you're focusing on Kendrick Nunn, but then Tyler Hero decides to drop a career high. Then 1 second, it's like Tyler Hero's doing his thing. Well, damn, Duncan Robinson decides he wants to make 10 threes this game. You just don't really know. I actually really like that unknowing factor, so it really works as long as Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo continue to play the level they're playing. Next, for the Milwaukee Bucks, we got defensive forward. Yeah, I suppose so. I would actually love if this team was able to bring in somebody like a Jeremy Grant. I feel like Jeremy Grant would be a perfect player to have. There's talks of trading away Eric Bledsoe, like I said earlier. I would not do that. There's no point, man. There's absolutely no point in doing that. Like, Chris Paul is a $44 million point guard. It's like, yes, Chris Paul's playing good right now, but there's a good chance after this season or the next season, he could have a big-time fall-off. And then all of a sudden, you're stuck with a guy that's not really playing up to par. Giannis would be becoming a free agent, he would know that it's like, hey, CP3 is getting all this money. We know no team's going to take him on, so what type of help are you going to be able to bring me, everybody? Like that would be a big concern. Keep Eric Bledsoe. Sure, if you want to bring in some defensive players, okay, that's fine. They don't really need one. Maybe like a Serge Ibaka would be kind of interesting, though. Oh, he's more of a center now, but still, he can play power forward just fine. Minnesota Timberwolves, point guard. That man right there. Get him. Do whatever it takes, except do not trade Karl Anthony Towns. I honestly would give up Robert Covington. I would give up Jarrett Culver. And maybe even a future first-round pick. I think the Warriors would be kind of greedy because they know what they have in back. So the Warriors are not in a situation where they need to trade D'Lo. So, yeah. Next up, we got the New Orleans Pelicans with a 3-and-D forward. I mean, sure, I guess like a bench guy because, your starter is going to be Ingram at the 3 and, of course, Zion at the 4. So, yeah, if you want to get a little depth off there, guys, that maybe when Ingram comes out of the game, you can put that 3-and-D guy there that can play with Zion or vice versa. We got nothing wrong with that. I don't really have like any specific player in mind, I guess, but I don't know. I like the Pelicans. I like a lot of their supporting cast too. I don't really have any big time complaints about them. Next up, we got the New York Knicks draft picks and undervalued prospects. I actually find Dennis Smith Jr. to be an undervalued prospect. I know he's battling a lot this season, and I really hope he comes back. But to me, he's very undervalued. I don't know, man. The Knicks are it's like nothing at this trade deadline is going to help this team. Really what the Knicks, their biggest need at this trade deadline is to not make a stupid choice. And that means don't trade Mr. Robinson, don't trade RJ Barrett. That's all you can really hope for with them. Next up, we got the OKC Thunder selective stockpiling. So that means looking at these 3 players right here, deciding which ones can be part of the future and which ones you should cash in right now. I think Adams, to me, Adams seems like he needs to be an OKC lifer. Just something about him. To me, he just is like what symbolizes the OKC Thunder now. Chris Paul has become one of the most confusing assets in the entire NBA. And I have no idea what the OKC Thunder can do with them, but it sounds like teams are still not interested. So you might be stuck with them until that contract comes out and they'll just retire. And Gallinari, I like Gallinari, but that is somebody I would probably trade away. Next up, we got the Orlando Magic with some scoring options. Yeah, I don't know, like in the short term, who's really going to help this team out. Of course, Jonathan Isaac being out for this season really does suck. But once again, you can still see, I don't like the fit. I've talked about it here before on the channel. But the fit is kind of intriguing. And that, of course, would be Aaron Gordon in exchange for DeMar DeRozan. But you look at that now, and it would have worked better if the Magic were able to shift Isaac to the 4 spot this season and have DeMar at the 3. But then, of course, you're playing DeMar with Markelle Fultz, and that's just spacing issues waiting to happen. But yeah, so they need some scorers out there. It's just that, anytime you're a really good scorer in the NBA, I mean, teams don't really let that up unless it's for something big. It's like they really got to be asking for a lot back. So it really comes down to how much trade value do the Magic have with these players to bring somebody back. Next up, we got, there's DeRozan's name right there. That's what I was saying, man. Okay, Philadelphia 76ers, we got some shooters out there. And I see a lot of people talking about the 76ers should trade away Joel Embiid or trade away Ben Simmons. I'm not really a believer in that. Like, I understand maybe their games don't complement each other perfectly, but it's like the reason that really is a big glaring issue is because of the rest of the guys out there on the court. Josh Richardson, who is actually out for the next 2 weeks now, so I don't think he'll be back in time to get traded away, so he'll probably stay on the team. Tobias Harris is not living up to his contract. Al Horford, not really great at the 4th spot. I mean, and Ben Simmons is playing like a damn superstar right now, so you're not trading him away. So, yeah, I think that the best. I don't really think Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons is the issue even together. I think it's what's around those guys that needs to be fixed. And, of course, they got to work on their bench, too. They really got to bring in some bench players. I was hearing maybe like Langston Galloway. He'd be kind of cool. He's a good player, guys. Next up, we got the Phoenix Suns with depth. I would much more like to see this team take a chance on, like, Kevin Love. I think Kevin Love fixes a lot of issues with this team. I think it brings in a locker room guy that's a champion. He knows what it takes to get it done. And just having that knowledge from a player just really helps you out so much. I mean, it's you can learn lessons from those guys that can carry you around with you for the rest of your career. And I just don't really think Devin Booker has had that guy in his team yet. Next up, we got the Portland Trailblazers tax savings. So yeah, don't bring in any bitch-ass contracts. Chances are you don't see LaMarcus Aldridge or Kevin Love get traded to this team. It's probably not going to happen. They just did their trade of trading away Kent Bazemore for like Trevor Ariza, and I think that saved them a little bit of money. But yeah, I think financially, I think they got like the worst contracts overall in the entire NBA. Next up, we got the Sacramento Kings with flexibility. Yeah, you look at their roster right now, they're actually looking like probably the worst. I don't want to say I don't know. They're not looking good, guys. I watched them against the Pistons, and it looked absolutely horrendous out there. I don't know what fixes this team. I don't really know what fixes this team. I mean, I don't have an answer, guys. I don't. Like, I love De'Aaron Fox. Marvin Bagley hasn't really been playing. Bogdanovich is a nice young player. It's like, what should they do? Like, what fixes them? I don't have the answer. You guys let me know in the comment section below. What do you think the Kings need to do? Next up, we got the San Antonio Spurs with the brighter future. See, I know in the past I was kind of hating on the Spurs a bit, but LaMarcus Aldridge has turned a new leaf with me. He's really changed his game. He's been shooting a lot more threes like should have been doing a long time ago. DeRozan still plays his traditional style of basketball, but it actually works out a lot better when you got LaMarcus Aldridge playing more like a modern-day big guy. So that helps out a lot. But as far as like a brighter future, I mean, DeJounte Murray's a nice point guard. I love Lonnie Walker. I almost said Lonnie Walker. I love Lonnie Walker. He's great. Derek White, I still think, is going to have a bright NBA future. Jakob Poeltl seems like, I don't know if he'll ever be a starting center in the NBA, but it'll be a good enough asset. And I know they got some other guys out there probably, in the farming system that are just waiting to be let loose because the Spurs, it's what they do. I think the brighter future is there. It's just a matter of, do you like what you have right now, and what do you think you can do with it? And if not, maybe it's time to trade these three guys and cash in on some more guys to add to the already bright future, in my opinion. Next up, we got the Toronto Raptors with front court reinforcement. Yes, I've heard that right now. Marcus Gasol and Serge Ibaka and maybe even Kyle Lowry are on the trade block. It seems like maybe the Raptors want to go in the direction of youth, but at the same time, with how this team is playing, they're currently like third in the NBA right now, I believe. So do you really want to make that big of a chemistry change at this point in the season that really could hold you back a lot? So yeah, I mean, I understand maybe wanting to get younger, but I think guys like Marcus Gasol and Serge Ibaka are invaluable come playoff time just with the experience and guys you can really count on. So, yes. All right, next up, we got the Utah Jazz with backup bigs. Yeah, they currently don't really have any. They got Ed Davis, who's played a few games this season, hasn't really done much. They have Tony Bradley, who, like Ed Davis, has played a few games this season, hasn't really done much. So it might be time. There's plenty of backup big guys out there. Have to be free agents, have that be guys that are just sitting at the bottom of NBA teams that could come here and, give Rudy Gobert a bit of a break. Next up, we got the Washington Wizards with defense, and more defense. I mean, you have a team with Isaiah Thomas that gets a lot of minutes. Yeah, the defense is going to suffer quite a bit. Davis Bertans is literally just like a stretch big. You got Rui Hachimura, who I do love his game. It's like rookies, for the most part, are typically not great defensive players. There's a lot to learn there. So, yeah, I don't really think there's going to be anybody you bring on the team right now that's going to fix your defensive issues. It's more so a collective thing. And, yeah, it was just one guy can't do it. It's more of a coaching thing. You're just getting guys out there. But also, in free agency and the offseason, just knowing what guys aren't historically great defenders and not putting them on the same team. So, yeah. But anyway, guys, that is the end of the video right there. I know this kind of switched so much, not so much like talking about the players, but so much more like why these issues or why these things are an issue right there and what they could do about it. So yeah, trying to mix up a little bit, but hope you guys all did enjoy. This was a lot of fun to make. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to drop that like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and peace out, my friends.